All right, welcome back to another episode of Heebie-Jeebies TV. Now, today's episode, we're going to go back into a little bit more of a paranormal perspective. And this story is fairly well known. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this or have heard a little bit of this. But before we get into today's story, obviously, just want to send a quick reminder to please consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you guys want to just hit the like button, it really does help us grow here on YouTube. So let's get into today's story. Now, today we're going to talk about the Jersey Devil. Now, this story has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And most people, when they hear about the Jersey Devil, they somehow or they automatically assume that we're talking about the NHL team, the New Jersey Devils. And I'm pretty sure that's where they actually got their name from, this story, because it's such a legendary part of New Jersey. So a little bit of background. So the Jersey Devil is actually thought to be many different things. Some people say that the Jersey Devil is a demon. Some people say it's some sort of prehistoric creature that has survived. Other people think it's some sort of mutant. Maybe it's an alien and an interdimensional being. It could be almost anything at this point based on the theories out there. Now, this legend takes us to the Pine Barrens, which is located in South Jersey. Now, if you haven't been to this area, from what I've been able to understand and read online is that Pine Barrens is a very, very dense forest. It's very, very dark out there. It's a large area. And from people that have gone out there, they say that this place does give them the creeps. There's definitely room for a possibility that some strange creature has been able to hide out there and evade detection for a very long time. It's definitely not a place you want to go and explore on your own, especially at night. Now, the Jersey Devil is described as being part human, part horse/goat. It's actually described as having horse sort of legs with hooves for feet, and it's only said to have 2 legs, so it walks upright like a human. Now, it starts to have somewhat of a human torso, but then it starts to change back into a horse or a goat when you get to the head. It's said to have similar features to those animals. And then it's also described as having bat-like wings with claws for hands. It also is said to have small horns on its head. And of course, last but not least, it's also said to have like a forked tail. Based on many of the witness testimonies, it's also said to have a shriek that will make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's definitely something that many people have never heard before. It's something that they cannot identify as being a well-known animal. So whenever you hear this scream, it's said that it will probably make you pee your pants. So of course, many of you are asking, well, where does this story come from? So the story of the Jersey Devil actually goes back to 1735, and it comes from a woman called Jane Mother Leeds. And she was said to have been a married woman. She had a very large family. She was married, but her family was considered to be strange by the rest of the village. They were kind of outcasted by the community and therefore lived a more secluded life. Now, her and her husband had 12 children, which was considered to be a lot, even for back then. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depends how you look at it, she found out that she was pregnant with her 13th child. She really didn't want to have another child. She was completely depleted. She did not want more children. So in a fit of rage and anger, as she was letting out her emotions, she actually ended up cursing the child. And it's reported that she said, "Let this one be the devil." So she carries on through the pregnancy and she carries to full term. And coincidentally, on the night she goes into labor, there was a huge storm outside. Very, very dark, very cold. And she's giving birth with her husband and several people that she knew all around her. And she's delivering the baby and everything seems to be going quite as planned. The baby comes out normal looking. It seems to be healthy. But then this is where the story gets very paranormal, very unbelievable, I guess you could say. The baby apparently starts mutating into some sort of unknown creature. The head starts changing into that of like horse, and then it starts growing a tail, it starts growing wings. And of course, everyone at this point is freaking out and screaming. Chaos has completely broken out inside of the house. And this obviously freaks out whatever the baby has just turned into. So with that in mind, the animal or the creature starts kind of whipping around, batting its wings and pushing everyone aside. And then it's said to have let out a very, very large, very, very loud screech. And it dove straight for the fireplace, flew up the chimney, and never to be seen again. By the late 1700s and the early 1800s, the story of the Jersey Devil has circulated across the area and was fairly known. There were stories circulating that there was a strange creature living deep inside the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. Now, over the next several hundred years, of course, there are many, many stories, many different sightings of the Jersey Devil. And I can't obviously go into all of them in one video, but we're gonna highlight a few key stories, especially story number 3 that happened not too long ago and actually went viral and serves as one of the most, I guess, realistic evidences that prove that the Jersey Devil might not actually just be a story. So in 1909, a huge surge of Jersey Devil sightings actually resurfaced. In that same year, over 1,000 people actually reported seeing or hearing the Jersey Devil. That same year, Navy Commander Stephen Decatur was actually practicing target shooting with several cannons near the Pine Barrens. And it said as he was doing this, he saw a strange creature that resembled the Jersey Devil flying over the cannons. Now, because he was already armed and he was already in shooting position, he decided to shoot at this animal. And apparently the cannonball actually hit it and made a hole in the middle of the torso. But shockingly, from what Stephen said and what several other witnesses there said, is that this hole didn't deter the animal. It was almost as if nothing happened. The animal just kept flying and it just flew away in the opposite direction. In 1927, in Salem City, a taxi driver was actually out driving in the middle of the night when he had to actually change one of his tires. So he gets out of his car, he stops the car, he gets out, he starts changing the tire, and he's about to get back in when he sees this large winged creature all of a sudden just land on his car. So he's freaking out, he starts driving away as fast as he can, and all he could say is that whatever was on his car was slamming its claws into the roof repeatedly until eventually it decided to fly away. Now, in 2004 is probably one of the most famous sightings and stories of the Jersey Devil, and it actually happened to the Winkleman family. So it was January in 2004 when the story had happened, and Lori Winkleman was at home with her son Glenn Jr. Now, Christmas had just ended, it was early January, and Lori still had not taken down the Christmas lights in their backyard. So on this day, she decided to go do that with her son. So they go out to the backyard and Lori bends down to unplug the lights, and when she turns back around, she looks at her son Glenn, who has this horrified look on his face, and he's just staring up into the direction of the trees that are right behind their backyard. So Lori follows his gaze and she looks at the trees, and to her surprise, she sees what is completely terrifying her son. They both are staring at this dark, tall creature that's perched up in the trees, and it seems to have very large wings, and it's literally staring right back at them. So the two start screaming, they start running as fast as they can back into the house, but the creature obviously sees them running and decides to swoop down and tries to either scare them or attack them, but it misses. They were able to run back into their house, shut the door, lock the door, and they hear whatever just attacked them land on their roof. Now they're inside the house, they're screaming, they're crying, they have absolutely no idea what they just saw, and they didn't sleep that night. They said they spent the entire night hearing whatever was on their roof just pacing and walking around the entire roof all night. The next morning, Lori's husband goes outside to check on the roof to see if there was any evidence of what had happened last night. So he grabs the ladder, he puts it up against the house and climbs up, and to his surprise, he actually sees dozens of these footprints perfectly preserved in the snow. Since it was January, there was still quite a bit of snow on the ground, and the snow did a really, really good job of keeping these footprints there. And they were so visible, so clear, that they actually took dozens of these pictures, and I'll put some of them here for you guys to see. Right away, they noticed the weird shape of the footprints. They looked to be like they were hooved prints, and they actually measured 9 by 5 inches, and they were also spaced 4 feet apart. So what this means is that whatever was on their roof that night was walking on 2 legs, that is for sure, and weighed approximately 200 to 400 pounds. The photos were even showed to the New Jersey Recreation Park Center, and even they were unable to identify what sort of animal it was. Initially, they thought that it could have been a great horned owl, but this didn't make sense because those were definitely not the footprints of an owl. And to consider the idea that maybe a deer or some sort of hooved animal was on their roof that night was just as crazy as the idea of it actually being the Jersey Devil. To this day, the Winkleman family has absolutely no idea what they saw that night. They were never able to identify the footprints. Anyone they show these pictures to is completely stumped about what this could be. And of course, there are dozens of other stories like this. There was another story in 2015, I believe. I think this one was debunked, and this guy actually caught a photo of what seemed like a horse-winged animal, like a smaller version of it flying mid-air. To be honest, this one looked pretty fake to me. I think this one was a hoax. They weren't able to confirm or not whether it was a hoax. The owner of the photo said that he swears he took this photo, that it was unedited, but who knows? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys think the Jersey Devil is real? Is it just a old tale? Is it something that's just been played up to a point where people are just making things up now? What do you guys think about the Winkleman story? What do you think these footprints could be? Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think about this story. Let me know what theories you guys have. And that does it for today's video. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.